Hello everyone and welcome to English 1-1. My name is Lily. And today, after a long while, I'm bringing a new episode about my life in China. Well, in today's podcast, we are obviously going to talk about my personal experience living in China. As some of you may already know, like the ones who have been following maybe on social media, you know that back in 2017 to 2020, I was actually working in China as an English teacher. How did all started? Well, it's quite simple, and it started all as an adventure, to be honest. Back in 2017, I was still working in a cruise ship where I was working as a shore excursion assistant, and I was already quite, I don't know, bored or like, I don't know, I had been working for 7 years in that cruise line already, so I just felt like I wanted a change. And then Julia, who is my very good friend, she actually came with this crazy idea of going to China. Well, it all started as more as a joke, but then we decided that it could be a good time to just go for adventure, and if we happen to find a job, then that will be great. But the initial idea was to go there for 1 month, and then if nothing happened, like finding a job, then we would just go back to our regular lives, and we didn't even know what were our regular lives back on that time. But well, then we arrived to China. Lucky enough, we both found jobs there. Julia was actually the first one getting a job, and after that, it was me. Well, that was how it all started. Quite simple. We at the beginning, I was actually working at a different place in giving like personal one-to-one lessons and sometimes group lessons. But after like I think 3 months, I moved to the same job place as Julia, and then we started working together in the same place, of course. Well, the point about this podcast, because this podcast could be quite long, since there are a lot of things that I could tell about my life in China for 3 years, right? To start with, well, I already mentioned where did we work. We were working at a kindergarten. We were working basically with kids ages 2 to 6, and you might think, wow, 2 to 6, do kids really learn at this age? Well, believe it or not, they do learn at this age. And I think this is a good time for them because everything is actually new. But at the same time, a bit hard because they don't even know their own language very well, like if they are two, right? But I was happily surprised that I had a lot of students who actually were 3 years old, and they could already communicate, and they could like make sentences, and everything was through games. Really, at this age, of course, the only way to teach the kids is through some interactive activities, some games. We need to use our bodies and everything. So definitely it was a very enriching experience, a different one from what most of the time we do in an English lesson, right? Which is like, if it's adults, is basically, of course, some activities as well, but it's not much of games, like we do it with kids, like face to face. But well, like I said, I think that will be probably a different podcast. I want to focus more on how was my life there. That was the working side. But where did I live? When I was living in China, the first time I arrived to this beautiful hostel located in the city of Chengdu. It was not right in the city center. I would say it was around, I don't know, 20-25 minutes by metro, and maybe, I don't know, around the same time by taxi, because metro is actually quite fast, so you get from place to place in very short periods of time. And in this hostel, it was beautiful because it was all like wooden. The design was very beautiful. It was mostly for backpackers, of course, for people who are traveling with low budget. And that was actually the interesting part, because we had this very amazing experience to get to meet a lot of people every day while we were living there, because I actually got to stay there for 1 year. And it, it sounds a bit old to live in a hostel, but as I said before, it was a very beautiful place. It was surrounded by a traditional Chinese neighborhood, and inside the hotel there were some gardens. There was an area that you could use for yoga, and the hotel wasn't packed like the whole year long, but it was, of course, it had its high seasons, like in July, for example, where we will see a lot of students coming from Europe, from America. But other than that, like most of the year, we would just meet different people and the hotel was just okay. It was never really packed, so it didn't really bother me at all. And once again, what we enjoyed the most was the fact that every week we could meet people from different parts of the world, so we got to meet really good friends there. And the hotel manager, she became our friend. She's Chinese, and she actually helped us a lot, because of course at the beginning the language was a barrier for us, but she took us around to different places where you can find local food, places where you can make the most of your time there. So we were really, really thankful to meet her, and we became very close friends with her. Her name is Lao Yao, and yes, thanks to her, I think we got to enjoy a lot of this city. But after 1 year and a little bit more, um, unfortunately, the hostel was handed to another owner, and this new owner was had a different vision, I would say. So he kind of um, made a lot of changes in the hostel, at the hostel. And of course, because of these changes and people like constructing, repairing this, rebuilding things, of course it was quite noisy already, and we took the decision of moving. But this time we were leaving like 1 hour and a little bit more by bus to the place where we were working. So we decided why not to move closer to the kindergarten where we were actually working. This is how we started looking for an apartment, and we found one within like 10 minutes by bike. And so this is how we moved to this new apartment, but once again in a very traditional neighborhood surrounded by a lot of restaurants. So it was a good opportunity. We had a nice view of a park, because in China, believe it or not, there are a lot of places where people can go and gather and dance, and it wasn't noisy. Again, it was just like a regular small city. Well, that is regarding the places where I live, the hostel, and then the apartment where I live until in 2020, which was the year that I had to leave because of the pandemic. And then it's social life. As I mentioned to you before, we met a lot of people from all around the world because we were living in this hostel, but the closest people, or the closest friends to us, were actually the ones who were working with us, all right? So we had two very good friends from Serbia, and another two friends from England. So we were basically 6 or 7 teachers, I think, by that time. And well, little by little we warm up, and then we started hanging out. We actually were living in the same building area as our friends from Serbia. So we were basically at their apartment, they were at our apartment, and we were always hanging out, and or or going for lunch or things like that. And of course, weekends also we will usually take a 1 day trip or something. So it was a lot of fun, because there were 4 of us, and the 4 of us, we could do many more things together. We were kind of motivating, and supporting each other. Let's do this, let's do that. Well, Chinese friends, we also became very good friends because as I also said previously, when the language is a barrier, a lot of times it's also difficult to become friends with someone. One of our very good friends, Lao Yao, she actually spoke English. So this is the reason also why we could communicate at ease with her. But while we were there, we were also trying to learn Chinese, of course, at least to survive, because most of people in China, they don't speak English. So it's very hard to communicate with them. And this is the reason, of course, we had to take also a Chinese course. I personally became very, not like very close, but a good friend with one of the teachers that I was working with. And of course some of the girls that were also working at the reception in the hostel, because they were seeing us every day. And well, sometimes we would go out for coffee or have lunch together. So well, yes, basically I could communicate with Chinese people who could speak English, or my poor Chinese is allowing me little by little to become closer to the people, because this is really how you get to know the inside part of a country, right? It's one thing going as a tourist, but when you are there, you really need to make an effort to communicate with people, to try to become part of it, and have a better understanding of their culture, because you are the one coming to their country, right? Now, another part of social life that we enjoy the most, I would say it was the food. I'm gonna say this out loud, and I'm probably gonna get some haters for that, because I know how my people, how Peruvians we are. We are very proud of our food, and we believe that our food is the one and only one around the world. But unfortunately, not unfortunately, really, in reality, there are so many type of different food around the world, and there are so many delicious ones. And so Peruvian, I love Peruvian food. I am Peruvian, I really enjoy, I miss it when I'm of the country. But Chinese food is also delicious, as like, I don't know, as Serbian food is, as Russian food is, as some other foods from different parts of the world. So Chinese food, I really was so amazed, because how I start to like it, because the food in the particular province where I was living, which is Sichuan, it's very spicy. I know that a lot of Peruvians we eat spicy food, but back then I didn't. So I wasn't used to that food. And wherever you go in Chengdu, everything will be spicy. Like whatever was not spicy was already spicy. And if it had like one chili, two chilies, or three chilies, it will be more and more and just more spicy. So I had no other way than to adapt. I had to get used to that. And with the time, I started to love it. So it was actually a good thing. I was kind of forced by the situation, because there was no other type of food, but I really like it. And in that way, I of course was trying all the different dishes that they had in Chengdu, and one was just like better and better and better than the other. Like I couldn't make a huge list, because just the last month I actually went back to China after 5 years, and I was there for 10 days, and believe me, every day I was trying a different dish, just because I wanted to try everything that I miss. But of course 10 days is not enough, because they have a variety of food and all of them are delicious. But at least I would say that I got to try again the one that I love the most, like chuan chuan, mao cai, like noodles, huoguo, which is this very popular dish that I think it's maybe known in some other places of the world, because in Peru, in Lima, every time it's my birthday, I try to go to this Chinese restaurant in Lima where they have huoguo. Huoguo is like in like hot pot, right? Where you have like a boiling pot with different spices, and basically you cook yourself your food there. You have a sauce, you eat it, and well, it's just delicious. That was one of the things that I enjoy the most. And lucky enough, I still can enjoy it sometimes in Peru, because of course in Peru it's much more expensive than what it's in China. Which brings me to that part where I have to mention the prices, Chinese prices for food, for transportation, for housing, at least in the I'm not talking about the big cities, okay, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, because that's a different story. But outside the big cities like Chengdu, I would say that the prices are really low. What you pay for rent in Peru for a small room, without anything, in Chengdu you will pay for a 86 square meter apartment with furniture and internet and all some basic things. So I think the rent is very cheap. And on the other hand, the food is also very cheap. It's actually a lot of times it's cheaper to go eat outside than to cook yourself. There's no really difference between that. A lot of time we would just cook because we will miss, like, I don't know, fresh salads or things like that, but we will not be bothered to do that most of the time, because eating in the restaurants is very, very affordable. And also the prices for transportation, wow, it's just like mind-blowing, because the I don't know, a bus ticket is like I don't know, cents, 30 cents of dollar, one sol, to go to mm, different places. I think the most expensive ticket that I ever paid, it was like the one to the airport, but it's very, very far. I don't know, like 1 hour by train, and it was around let me try, like $3 more or less. And yes, that was the most expensive one, because it's far, 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 and it does take you right to the front inside the airport. So that is just like amazing. And taxis are also very affordable, so a lot of times if you don't feel like going all like a little bit cram inside the subway, especially during the peak hours, you can take a taxi, and well, there is a difference, but there is not much difference really. And one of the reasons why China managed to keep the prices before pandemic and now after pandemic the same, and even a little bit lower, at least when it comes to transportation, is because most of the cars now are electric cars. So this is the reason why they became very economic. And also, while in the rest of the world prices for products increase two, three, four times, in Peru it's like at least four times, I don't know, for bread, or very basic things. In China, the prices are exactly the same as in back in 2020, before I left, before the pandemic started, and now they are the same. So to go to China, before it was like, now of course the ticket might be expensive, but in China itself it's very affordable, and now it's still very affordable as well. They do not they do not try to take advantage of the tourists in like touristic place like the Great Wall, where you will say, oh yes, prices are gonna be crazy there. No, it's usually a difference of, I don't know, $1 more. It's really not a big deal. Like it is in some other parts of the world, like Machu Picchu, where, I don't know, glass of Coke costs you $10, $8. It's just crazy, it's just like way, way, way out of limits, I will say. But well, once again, that is, I don't want to spoil you with that part, because I'm actually trying to save that for my next podcast, which is going to be how it was, or how much China changed from the last time that I was there until now, which is a period of 5 years. Now, next part is shopping in China. And why I put this part is because I know a lot of people in different parts of the world, you bring things from China right through Alibaba. I think is um, the main application that people use, and because prices are very cheap. But imagine living in China, where they produce them, like, really, products are very, 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 very cheap. There is a special application for Chinese or people who live in China, which is called Taobao. It's like the Chinese Alibaba. And prices there, if you think Alibaba has a very affordable prices, Taobao has even cheaper prices. So this is one of the reasons why Chinese people do not buy second-hand things, because prices are so low that there is no really need to buy a second-hand thing like clothes or like technology. It's very rare that someone will do that. And well, that brings me to the next part already, which is transportation. I already briefly mentioned, right, that are very affordable. You have the subway, you have the buses, and prices are cheap. And the last one that I would like to mention are the bicycles. There is a system of sharing bicycles. I remember when I came to Chengdu the first time, there were only two companies. One were the yellow bicycles and the other ones were the orange ones. The orange ones were quite new. I don't remember the names of the companies. This is the reason why I'm just saying it by colors, because those were like the colors that were representing each company. And basically you needed just an application, and through a QR code you would just unlock it, you would write it, and you could leave it anywhere around the city. So it's actually very convenient, because a lot of times when you take the subway, you still need to walk or like take a bicycle within a considerable distance. So if you need to go to your place of work, let's say you need to still, I don't know, you're still like 500 meters or 1 kilometer far, so you take the bicycle and it takes you, I don't know, 5 minutes to get there. And this is actually that type of transportation that we were using the most. Once again, because it's very affordable. I think monthly package was around 15 soles, and I could use it, and I was using it all the time, every day, because I was going to work and coming back to work by bicycle in around 10 minutes. But during the day I was also using it all the time. So this for me was one of the highlights of China. I love it. I could live it anywhere. And then after a while, of course, new companies appear. There is this green company which is part of Didi, that one I remember. And then another yellow company will replace the old yellow one. I think they bought it or something. But the bicycles just become better and better. Like before, like they were like, just regular bicycles, but then they already put like a basket in the front. They had better brakes and everything. So actually the quality of these bikes are good, because they still use it. And you will see it in the cities in China. They are near to the subway stations or to the bus stations, and there are like special parking areas only for bicycles. Well, moving on to the next part. Again, I think this is the longest, but I'll try to summarize it, which is traveling. Of course, traveling in China, it's something that everyone wants to do. They have amazing, beautiful places, nature, historical buildings. Wow, it's just amazing. Every place you go, you feel like you're like, walking in those um, TV series from epic times. And it's just really, really beautiful and really enjoyable. Near to Chengdu, which once again is the city where we were living, there was this place called Dujiangyang, which I think we will get there by train. It took around 1 hour to get there. And like the stone city, it was like it was a stone city. It was a mix of stone with wooden, like very classic Chinese roofs. And well, at night it was just magical, because you would go through these small passages, and of course with a lot of stores, but a lot of life, I think my words, as I always said, are never enough or good enough to describe the magic of these places. Well, that was nearby only where we live, but of course we also got the opportunity to travel to Lijiang, which is located in Yunnan, which is the province that is located like in the south part of China. Another beautiful, incredible city. And I know nowadays a lot of, I don't know, YouTubers or Instagrammers travel to this city because of how beautiful it is. So it became very Instagram, I don't know, Instagrammer place. I don't know how to call it. And well, another place in actually in the province of Sichuan is called Ma. It's a mountain. In Buddhists, they consider four mountains like sacred mountains, and this mountain Ma is considered is one of them. And we actually did a trekking to Ma for 2 days. It was an incredible adventure. There were four of us traveling together. We came and we arrived a night before. We stayed there in a hostel, and the next day we started climbing this mountain. And I say climbing because a lot of the parts were very steepy, which means that it required a lot of physical effort. So we started, we were not in a rush. Most of people actually don't get scared because most of people actually take a bus to a certain point and then they take a cable car to the top of the mountain. But we were adventurous and we decided that we needed to trek all the way up. And this is what we did. We went, the four of us. We met some people along the way, as I mentioned to you. Very few people really walk up to the mountain, and we had some very beautiful encounters along the way. But before that, and because of course you can finish the whole climbing in one day, we had to stay at the monastery. And in this monastery, they only have, of course, vegetarian food because monks, they do not eat meat. And so we stayed at this place, and of course it was like a very interesting, I think, situation, an interesting experience, because of course it's not the comfort of a hostel, it's a monastery, but we still managed to sleep well. At least I sleep well, even though I think my friends, they said that they couldn't sleep very well. But it wasn't because of any noise or anything like that. It's just that, of course, it was a little bit coolish maybe, and I don't know, the beds were not as comfortable as once again they will be in a hotel. But well, that being said, well, we woke up the next morning, we had breakfast, and we continue our itinerary to get all the way to the top of the mountain. And in this second day is when we had a very beautiful encounter with some monkeys. They were wild monkeys, and all along the way going up to the mountain, there were always signs saying like, "Be careful with the monkeys, be careful with the monkeys." And so we were told to not put food like in our pockets or the side pockets of the backpacks. And well, as we were walking, we happened to come right across like one face to face, and the size of of this, it was like a little passage in that part. It was, I don't know, like half of the meter only, so there was no way to avoid the monkey. We needed to face him and continue walking, and as we try to move to the right, the monkey will move to the right. Go to the left, you go to the left. What happened is that one of my friends decided to leave some cookies on the side pocket of her backpack. So this is what the monkey wanted, and we realized that, and we asked her just to give the cookies. So the monkey took it, because they are not small monkeys, really. I'm not very tall, and so the monkey will be, I don't know, up to my chest at least. And they are wild also, so you don't want to mess with the wild monkeys, really, because they can, of course, steal not only your food, but sometimes they steal your personal stuff. I had my camera, which was hanging from my neck. I slowly switch it on. I start just recording and taking pictures, but I was like, holding my camera, hoping that the monkey would not try to steal it from me, but I had it attached to my neck anyhow. Well, to make this story short, one of my friends, he's actually very tall. I'm not like almost 190. We were walking with some bamboo sticks to help us, trek. And he read that when the monkey is like that, he also needed to act kind of like a monkey and make like noise. He started making noises with his bamboo stick, and he started like also like screaming. I don't, not like screaming, but making like loud noises. And the monkey also, got a little bit disoriented. At the end, with the cookies and everything, he moved. And then later, we also found the mama monkey with the baby, just like, she was carrying the baby. And oh my god, it was so beautiful. Like, we were, I think, never fans of monkeys, but after this experience, I think we all started loving them because they were very handsome, very beautiful. And even though, of course, they wanted something from us, like food, it wasn't really difficult to do that, and these kind of encounters that happen in nature, those are the kind of things that you will never ever forget. And because if you go, I don't know, to those places that I don't really like zoos, it's totally different. And this was very special and very, very unique experience. But well, that is traveling. Of course, we went to some other places like Guilin, Shanghai. But as I said, I think I should definitely do another podcast about just places that we visit, because there were quite a few during this period of time. Well, to summarize all these podcasts, because it has extended quite a while already, I would say that the advantages, the advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantages, of course, will be maybe some food products. As while it is true that I love from the bottom of my heart Chinese food, it is also true that I like things like fresh salads, which you don't find it in China, or like in some milk products like butter or cheese that I am used to, and those are harder to find, and if you find them, they're a little bit more expensive and quality is not so good. So I would say that was one disadvantage. And the second disadvantage, not exactly disadvantage, but well, it's something that creates a barrier, is the language. Of course, I got to learn at survival level again to try to communicate with people, but I wish I could have learned before I arrived to China, so I had more opportunities even to communicate or to talk to people. But well, definitely it's some things that you need to take in consideration when you travel, when you visit to China, or when you go to live in China. And advantages, once again, it will be the cheap rent. Of course, the payments that were available then and they're still available now, of course, which are contactless, WeChat, Alipay. It's just like really convenient. And nowadays you probably have seen a lot of videos where they just use the face to pay. Oh, it's just technological advantages in China are just like way ahead. Well, and of course, transportation, once again, really convenient, very cheap. And overall experience in China was amazing. This is a place that I would definitely recommend to anyone visiting at least once in their lives. While I got this huge opportunity to live there, and I'm gonna be forever thankful. But if you do have the opportunity to go visit it at least once in your life, you definitely need to go. It's a beautiful country full of history, of like centuries of history and places, unique places, and definitely there will be no regrets about it. All right, so thank you very much for whoever stayed till the very end watching this podcast. I'm gonna bring a second part where I'm gonna be talking about what was my experience just last month when I came back to China. All right, thank you very much and see you next time. Bye bye.